All right, how are we doing tonight, folks? Come on, let me hear those applause. Let me hear those applause. I hope you're doing well tonight. No energy is good over here on this end on a Friday night. I'm so happy to be back to be streaming with you guys. I had some technical difficulties, some wiring issues, some placement of some streaming equipment was inappropriate and led to some what you would call exterior damage to some streaming parts, but we made some recalibrations. We tweaked some of the streaming things. As you can see, some new thumbnails have been made. Adjustments are being made. Upgrades and updates are pending, folks. Live stream is only going to get bigger. It's only going to get better. And I'm so glad I can share it with you guys here tonight. Some of that progress. Happy to be back as well. We got some things to talk about for Tottenham. North London Derby coming up this weekend. Big game for both teams. We'll get into the context of why that is and what it means. But first, I want to take a moment as well to let you guys give a round of applause for yourselves. Thank you for being here. Right, you could have been anywhere else on a Friday night. Good Friday night, especially where I'm at, 60 degrees. It's been warmer right after this big ice storm that we had. So I know it's good energy outside, good feeling outside. I know there's probably going to be some people soaking up this warm weather. It's weird. Right nearing the end of the winter time, honestly, getting into spring. But anyways, I was just saying, give yourselves a round of applause. Give yourselves a round of applause. I hope that energy, that good energy is with y'all tonight. I hope it's with you wherever you're at, whatever time you're watching this. All right, folks. You know what time it is. Go ahead and bring my big, beautiful face on to the screen. Here we are. De La Spurs here. Oh, let me adjust this a little bit. Here we go. De La Spurs coming to you live. Go ahead and throw these round of applause back in there, please. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Friday night, February 20th. Like I said, getting close to the end of the wintertime. Getting close to the end of the wintertime. It's going to get warmer, right? I'm not sure how you are as a viewer, if you enjoy this time of year. Sure, enjoy the spring, but spring is upon us. It is upon us. We are getting closer to the end of the season as well. We are on that last bit of stretch after the end of this January break. We got Champions League and Premier League coming up for Tottenham Hotspur. So getting to that, I would say that quarter point of the year as we round off the second month, about to end the second month of the year. Hopefully you guys have had a strong start to your 2026. I really hope you did. As we come to an end of February, going into March, hope you're having a good night as well. Friday night, hope you're getting your weekend started off right. Hopefully you're getting some rest. I'm not sure what time you're watching this on the playback. If you're watching this live, what time it is where you are locally. But if this is the end of the night for you, you're just getting off work, welcome. Right? If you've been off work and this has been the highlight of your Friday night, this is the prime time. This is what you've been looking forward to for your Friday night to get your weekend started off right. Welcome. I'm happy that you chose me as well to do that. I guess you'd say that ignition to your weekend plans. I'm so happy and honored to be a part of it. But welcome to the live stream, folks. De La Spurs live. Glad to be back live with you guys again. So much stuff has been going on the background of things, to be quite honest. Like I said in the intro, some technical issues occurred. a little bit earlier, but we are here back live tonight for you guys. We're going to be getting into a number of topics, but before we do, and ask you guys to do the beginning logistics for me, go ahead, like the live stream. All right, subscribe to the YouTube, share this content. Feel free to throw a comment in the chat, the live chat, or if you're watching this on the playback, feel free to throw a comment down below on the video. Love your guys' interactions, what you think about the content, what you think about what was said, what could be done better, what is worse. What let me know what you guys think about De La Spurs and the content, and feel free to share this with your friends and family members as well. Let them know about this content. If you have any Premier League fans, any other Tottenham fans in your life, and you're wondering what entertainment you can watch regarding Tottenham content, feel free to share this channel, share my live stream videos with them so they can go ahead and join in on this greatness. All right, don't be selfish with De La Spurs. All right, I know I'm great. All right, I know this is amazing content. I know you want this all for yourself. I get it. I would want the same thing. If I had such an amazing figure going live 3 days a week, I would want to keep it to myself and keep that relationship tight, relationship close, because there's so many content creators out there. There's so many people going live. And when you find that authentic person that can cut through the mess and all the dribble of what you see going on in the world and on the internet, you want to foster that relationship. You want to keep that relationship strong. And sometimes you feel like it can be diluted by introducing people into it, especially people in your personal life. But I want to reassure you, please do not be afraid to share this with people you know and love. Please don't be afraid of spreading the word on this content. Trust me, the more people we get behind this, the better the product will be. So go ahead, do the beginning logistics, like the live stream, subscribe to the channel, follow me on X as well so you can get updates of when I'm going live. You can see some of the content that I'll be talking about in videos and live streams. Pretty much scrolling through my X as well. You'll also just kind of see some of my comments and, replies to things. So just feel free to follow me on X so you can see all of that and that you can stay up to date on everything De La Spurs. Well, we got a couple of topics to talk about. The big one, obviously, of course, is going to be the North London derby coming in this weekend on Sunday. Home game to the scum across the street, Arsenal. Listen, we're going to be getting into the context of this game. Why this North London derby, even though all North London derbies feel like they're pretty extreme, why does this one feel this season? Why does this one feel like has so much riding on for both teams as far as what's going to be there for the end of the season for them and what this means going into the future, what this means to the teams, to each other. Obviously, two teams in two polar opposite situations, but why does it feel like both teams are so desperate in this game? Why does it feel like they both have the same they have the same hunger, the same drive to get something out of this game, even though both teams are on the polar opposites of the form table, polar opposites of the Premier League table. As far as competitions they're competing in, one's in all four. We're only in one necessarily with the Champions League. So we'll talk about why does this North London derby mean so much to teams that are in two completely different situations. Also going to be talking a little bit about Igor Tudor, interim coming in. He just had a press conference today highlighting who's going to be available for the North London derby, some of his sentiments and how he's felt coming in for this week. I'm not sure if this has been a full week. I think this has been a full week since he's joined. So kind of just getting a sense of his first full week here at Tottenham and what that means going forward. I'm not sure if it's been a full week yet. I can't remember if that was on Friday then. announced it. If it was a Saturday, I can't remember. But regardless, we're going to be talking about what he has expressed to the media so far about what his time has been and what he's looking to achieve. And we'll pretty much wrap it up there at the end of the night. I only want to be going for about an hour for you guys. I don't want to be too long. I have been long-winded recently. I'll probably go over an hour still, but I'm trying not to go like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Right? We're gonna try to keep it low key on this stream, and we don't have a lot of topics to talk about anyway. So, all right, man, we are going to go ahead and dive right into it. Let me get everything set up here. So first, we're going to be talking about Igor Tudor's interview today. Let me get this screen pulled up. Yes. All right. And here we go. We're just gonna put this up on here. All right, we got his interview all the way pulled up, and we're just gonna go ahead and get right into this. So this is his press conference. So you can see I'm just right on the Tottenham website. We're just gonna be reading through it here. I'm gonna try to zoom in just a little bit, just so this is a little bit bigger for you guys. Here we go. That should be good. Let me know if that's good. All right, that should be a little bit better. Hopefully you guys can read this now. So first question, this is kind of like been the highlight of the interview, right? Is his reply right off the bat. No jokes, no I guess no funny business, no laughing about things, no warm fuzzy feelings that he needs to express. Oh, this club has been so good to me, been so warm to me, they've been accepting me, right? No, he went straight into the business, right off the bat. Now let me just preface this press conference first before we kind of get into things. Now, Igor Tudor, when he first came in, I think there was a lot of fans that were. I think it was definitely a split within the fan base regarding his appointment. I think first off being that no one's really ever heard of this manager. Second, once fans actually did their research and figured out just who this manager was, they seen that his record was not the best, especially recently. But his record has not been the brightest to look forward to as far as bringing a manager in to get you out of a relegation battle. And his work history has been very short. He has very short tenures at clubs. And regardless of the situation he was brought in for the club and what his reputation was, it always felt that he was cut short due to his lack of achievement, due to his, I guess, the team's really not winning any games. And it was a similar case with Juventus before. He was on a terrible run. They were on 8 games, I think, and they didn't win any of them, right? I think they had a number of losses and draws. I can't remember the exact number, what the exact record was, but I know out of the 8 games, or his last 8 games at Juventus, he couldn't get a win. So a lot of fans were very nervous about what Igor Tudor was and what he was going to bring into Tottenham. And right off the bat, I mean, him being a Serie A manager, just the vastly different styles of play from going to Serie A to the Premier League and the pace of those leagues, which, in my opinion, I think Serie A does play at a faster pace. I think they move the ball pretty fast. As much as Italian soccer has been, they do pride themselves on their defense, but by no means does that mean that the pace of the game is really slow. I think there's a lot of teams, if you watch Syria, watch a game, don't want to say live like they're in person, but live on TV, live on whatever broadcast, they do move the ball pretty well. At least the better teams, right? If you watch the teams at the bottom of the table, maybe they won't be as good on the eye or playing that good of football. But if you look at the bigger teams, the Milans, Inter, Napoli, Roma. You can even put teams like Atalanta in there as well. Juventus, those teams, have better quality players. So the football that they play, in my opinion, like I said, it's not as fast as the Premier League. I think there's definitely more time on the ball, but the pace at which they move the ball and the pace at which they want to bring the ball forward into the attacking half, I don't think is that much different than the Premier League. Now, there's not as much pressing, and again, they have more time on the ball because of that. But teams do look to move the ball very quickly, move the ball side to side, and create those opportunities because those teams pride themselves on defense. They pride themselves on getting into those banks of four and banks of five and defending, and then so on and so forth. So a lot of fans were very nervous about Igor Tudor's style of play and what he was going to be able to bring if he wasn't going to be able to cut in this in Serie A and on Serie A teams. Just exactly what is his football? Why is it not good enough? And is that even going to be worth trying to bring into the Premier League and worth trying to make that adaptation? Well, I think, honestly, as far as the situation we were in, I had no opinion on the Igor Tudor appointment. To be quite honest, I was kind of more prepared for this team to be relegated. I thought the situation that we're in is pretty dire. I'm still on DEFCON 2, if anybody's wondering. Still on DEFCON 2, and we kind of have to see what happens in this North London Derby game for me to change my opinion on that. But yeah, I really didn't have an opinion on this guy. The fact that he didn't win, out of his last 8 games at Juventus, which led to him being fired, wasn't positive. Wasn't really a good thing I was looking forward to. But it's is what it is. And I don't want to say like I back him, like I think he can actually do something, but I back the guy because I really don't have a choice. You really don't have an option. So again, my opinion on him really will have to come through his play because I don't know anything about the guy. So I have to at least, if we have 12 games left, I'm going to see from the first 3 or 4 games how we look. And that will kind of form my opinion on, first of all, it will form my opinion on if we're going to be relegated or not. And then it will form my opinion on him as a manager and what his appointment was and everything that comes into that. So to preface that, this is his first press conference. Well, not his first press conference. I think this is his first pre-match press conference with the media. I think he spoke to the media before doing an interview when he was first appointed and taking questions then. So I don't want to say this is his first interview as Tottenham interim, but this is his first press match interview as a Tottenham interim. So his first question is, or his answer to the first question has kind of been the highlight of what the interview was and what he means as far as he means business. He's a serious guy, as far as I think he's Croatian. So he's, there's this, I guess this, I don't want to say opinion or this bias, but there's this view of him that he's the staunch guy, strong, not very emotional, and looking straightforward, straight to business sort of figure. And this answer kind of reinforced that. The interviewers asked if he used to join this first few days at the club. He replies, "Oh, I didn't enjoy it because I'm not here to enjoy. I'm here to work. Enjoying is just the first moment after there is work to do. It's nice. It's a privilege to be here. As I said before, it's a fantastic club, also very focused and very concentrated to do the right things at the club that this club needs, this team needs, our fans need. I'm focused on that. I'm not thinking too much about what you asked me to enjoy. So, right off the bat, boom, this guy means business. He's saying, I'm not here to enjoy this. I'm not here to sit here and be all starstruck about how amazing the club is. He brought me in here to do a job, and I'm coming in here to do that job, right? You think, oh my gosh, that's exactly what you want to hear. But I shouldn't say but. I mean, like, but that's exactly what you want to hear as a Spurs fan. He's acknowledged that his time here is going to be limited, but he knows that he has to get results, and that ultimately, whatever happens, he's going to be responsible for it. And I think you get that sense, or that he understands that vibe from the fan base and from the ownership, and he's kind of picked up on that vibe and is continuing on with that. So I think he's kind of answering back to be like, hey, I'm only here to just do this and this. So this whole enjoyment of the club, what do I think about this? And what do I think about London? And all these sort of questions, kind of save that, because I'm here for business. If you have any questions about my approach to the game and what we're going to be doing, all that stuff, that's what I'm here for. And they go straight into that. So asking some more questions here. Go back to this screen. So first question. So second one, Igor, the challenge and the task of considering the injury issues. He answers, yeah, very particular moment. As you know, this is a very rare situation that we find. 10 players injured, some with big injuries also. So we made training with 13 players. So it is how it is. So that's also been sort of a big headline from this interview, right? 13 players that we have available to play. So you think about it, you field 11 players, right, including a goalie. So that's 11 right there. And I hope now that the 13 players that he is training are field players, right? If Vicario and a backup goalie is included in that 13, it's going to be a very, very rough Sunday. It's going to be a very, very rough rest of the season, to be quite honest. And I mean, he'll talk about how he feels about that, but I think that was just something that was very, very important to highlight, man. We only have 15 players available and fit for this game. I mean, that's crazy. That's a crazy situation to be in. And I really don't know how you can ask a lot from a team that's in this sort of situation. I don't know as an owner, as a fan, like I don't know what to expect from here. I think a lot of people have just kind of resigned to the fact that we don't know what to really look for. There's stuff that you want to happen. There's things that you want to happen. You want players to come back. You want to get points from these games. But when you look at the actual black and white, which is what you see here on the screen, 13 players. They're only training with 13 players. We have 11 players to field on the team. We are only going to have 2 players to bring in as subs that are technically fit. The other people that we bring in are not fit. They didn't train, and more than likely probably won't play because they didn't train. So to be quite honest, we're only going to have 2 players to come in to the North London Derby to help with one of the best teams in the league right now. So, man, it's a crazy situation. But we're gonna continue reading. It's not fantastically beautiful, but it's in this case a bigger challenge to succeed, to come out from the situation, which is now, of course, 13 players we will have for sure. And it's quite enough to achieve what we want on Sunday. And that's the first of all. Of course, I understand the importance of this game. This is a derby, the North London Derby. Everybody expects, the points, 3 points from us. We are aware of this. But what was my goal in these first sessions we made is that we became a team, in the right meaning of the word, the team who want to suffer what it needs to suffer, to fight, to run, to have the right mentality. Also, this is the start. So he's kind of saying he understands that this is going to be a big game coming up on Sunday. And we only have 13 players to field, and the situation looks dire. He's expressing that he's come to the players and he's trying to get them together and say we need to be a team, which I think can give some fans comfort, because I'm not sure, and it really depends on what your view of what you want. But for me, in my opinion, I'm not sure a manager that was going to yell and scream at these players and try to put a foot up their ass to get something out of this game is going to be. I'm not sure if it's necessarily going to be the best approach in this injury situation. Now, to get up for a game and to get some fire in their bellies, there needs to be some sort of spark there. I do agree there. But I think if you have a manager that's constantly going to just have their foot up their ass, I don't think it's going to necessarily help. And the team may not handle that sort of feedback well, and we would see the effects of that in games. So maybe his approach, I think, still can be strict, still can be rigid, and still can be disciplined, but it sounds like, or from the looks of it, he's trying to galvanize the team. So maybe the approach might be a little bit softer than what you would expect, or maybe the approach is that in training, he's expressing that it's all about everybody being together as one, and not necessarily calling players out and shunning players who maybe have not performed I guess, in that training session, not performed even during the season, right? So like maybe and I'm not sure. For example, Romero, because I don't think he's training, right? He's suspended, so he's not going to be training, or I don't think he's going to be, training that much with the team that's going to be playing on Sunday. But say for Romero, I think a lot of fans would think that player might kind of get shunned out, and that even though he's a captain, yes, but from what he's doing, his discipline, you would think, okay, he's probably going to be a little bit, short with Romero, or he's going to be a little bit more rigid with Romero to try to kind of buffer his way in. But maybe he's putting his arm around Romero's shoulder and saying, hey, I know you're suspended. I know I know that you got the discipline stuff going on right now, but, just know that your spot is ready on the team, and we're ready to be, we need to be a team. We need you, and we need your head in the game. So, don't necessarily throw that behind you, but a clean slate. And maybe that's something that a lot of these players needed, was just a manager to come in and say, hey, you got a clean slate. We're in this situation, yes, but let's just all kind of restart. Let's just get a clean slate of this, and let's try to become a team. Let's play as a team. We're going to suffer. We need to run. We need to fight, yes, and the numbers are low, but we need to stay together. And maybe, just maybe, that breath of fresh air is what was needed, because I'm not sure if a Thomas Frank, with what has come out about kind of how the players were thinking about him and that they didn't really respect him, that even if he did try to kind of have this arm around the players moment, they're just going to be like, man, like, get out of here with that. We know what you think of the club. We know what you think of us. We know what you think of the club. So like, even if you come around with it, it would make it seem like it's even less genuine than probably what it was in the moment, right? Just to kind of go through some more, Igor, on turning our form around. We spoke from day one. We have 3 or 4 sessions. From the first session, I go immediately very concrete piece, because there's no time to lose. Even with choosing the exercise, I need to choose an exercise that is in short period, can do an improvement, not losing too much time on basic principles. That sometimes I do. It's not, of course, possible in short trainings to do big chances, but there's something we need to see. I'm sure that we we'll see something that's all the players very motivated to turn things around. So that's a nice start. So kind of talks about just turning around the form. And he kind of goes into detail about the training sessions, how many they had, and what he was doing in those training sessions. It seems like he wants to. He's very intentional on what he wants the team to work on. So coming out on Saturday, I think should not necessarily be the final end all be all indicator, but I think should be a good indicator. If he's saying the team is focused and motivated, he's come in and structured the training sessions to be very specific because he doesn't want to waste an inkling of time, then and everything is very intentional, then how we set up and how we play should be uh, I think that's something that he will be accountable for. And I'm not sure we can necessarily say, oh, well, these players are coming off with Frank, they're coming off this bad form. It is true they are, but he's saying right here from the go, I'm very intentional in what we're doing and on the field and in the training, and the players seem motivated and happy to try to turn it around and be better. So I think that's positive, yes, one, but two, I think it shows that again he's very intentional on what he wants to try to get out of this team. So on Sunday, what we see from the team should be what his intentions have been from this last week of training sessions and what he's been doing. Right, right. Um, Igor on his style of play and approach, taking into account of the injuries. Igor says, I would say it's more difficult when you don't have players, but then it's easy to choose a system. As I said on Tottenham television, it's always the style after the mentality. The system can be, as you know, during the game, the players are moved, it can be changed. It's only starting position after it is all but fluid in movement without ball, of course. Then you need to choose for the characteristics of the players, the available players. If you have wingers, fantastic wingers, you play with the wingers. If you have fantastic strikers, you play with the strikers or midfielders. That's the key, but it's not about the system. That's the key, but it's not about the system. Some of these guys, English is second language, and I guess they're literally typing out every word that they were saying. I don't know why they didn't edit it just to make it more smoother. That's the last thing that's important for the start. As I said before, you need to become a team. You need to become the group of players with values who give something more, who watch after each other, who don't watch themselves, but watch each other to help them. This is, for me, basic. After all, the quality can come out because this is a team who is full of quality. Oh, my God. Why would you say that? I believe full of talented players with good motivations who can run. So there's plenty of potential to come out with potential some basic need to be done. So he says the players are there's talented players in this squad, which I wouldn't have gone with that. I wouldn't have said that, but I think he probably wants to motivate the players in the speech as well. So maybe that's a good look from him, right? Saying that, these players are good. They are capable of doing something, but, he admits that the style of play is going to be affected by who's available, and he has to use who's available. So if we see that Tell and Odegaard are going to be dominating the play in defense, then that's just because that's who we have. That's not because he has the pick of the litter of who he wants to choose to start and how he wants to. For all the fans out there that like to say, oh, you can switch this player in this position and put this player here in the midfield and try to do it this way. I think he's kind of coiling all of those things by saying, listen, I'm playing who we have available and playing to their strengths. So if we're playing with wingers, we're going to be trying to play to the wingers' strengths. If we're playing with, if we're playing with Richarlison's a finisher, right? We need to hold up balls on the wing. We need to hold up the play on the wing so Richarlison can get into position, then put a cross in the box. If we're playing with Solanke, we need to play him sort of as a number 9, get him the ball, get him to put his back against the player, get the wingers out wide in front of him, right? Boom. There you go. Midfielders. We got young midfield. Well, I'm not sure about that. Probably have to look up who's available, to be quite honest. I don't want to make any sudden judgments on who's available and stuff in the midfield. But as I said before, as he said, he's going to be playing to the player strengths of who we have available. So I'm not sure if fans can necessarily say that he needs to be sort of doing this crazy customization of the squad and these players in these positions. I think he wants to keep it bare bones, play to the players' strengths in their natural positions, keep it as that, and the system will kind of follow suit. So I think that's a solid answer, and I think that's a very solid approach. Um, on whether any players may be fit to return this weekend, Dominic Solanke. Problem with his throat. Problem with his throat. Um, what have you been doing? What have you been doing? What has this guy been doing with his throat? Why is his throat sore? And why is it so sore that he can't run and play football, right? I've gone to work with the cold. I've gone to work with the sore throat. Not from whatever Dominic Solanke's been doing. I don't know what the hell he's been doing. But if you have such a sore throat you can't play, what has he been doing? I would have to ask Dominic Solanke what has he been doing. Yeah, that's strange, man. Not playing with the sore throat. That's wild. That's a wild one for me. So we're not gonna have Dominic Solanke. Are we gonna have Richarlison back? I'm not sure. Igor, I'm working with Dragusin, blah blah blah. Christian Romero. So he's talking about working with Christian Romero, Dragusin. He's worked with those players before, leadership group. Romero's suspended. All right, here's one right here. This is not important. I'm sorry. Igor was asked if we were in a relegation fight. He replies, "This is not important in which way. To be more clear, we're fighting for every position. Relegation, first position. For me, it's all about you achieve what you do during the week. So you achieve your position, how you do the things on Sunday. So it's always a consequence about that. This brings you, I don't really understand what that last sentence was. To be quite honest, I don't know what that means. This brings you nothing if you start to think about the relegation or I'm fighting for this. All these goals are far away. I think you understand me. I never give them importance. I never speak about results. I never speak about what we need to achieve at the end of the season. I don't believe in this. I believe in today's training. This is for me all I want the players to think about. I go strong on things that we need to do on training. After we speak, I go man to man to give concrete advice. All I have is love. Also support, but also right advice. So it's all about that. Then the position on the classification is the consequence of this. So didn't really answer the question to me. I think he kind of dodged the question of if we're in a relegation fight, and I get it. I think he wants, if he knows there's going to be headlines, things coming out from the media from this interview, and I think if it came out that first of all he didn't believe in himself or in these players, or that we're in a relegation fight and everybody needs to buckle up for that, and it is DEFCON 2, then that would, I think, in a sense, kind of weaken the mentality, weaken the sort of strength that he's kind of come in and tried to sprinkle on the players in his first week, in his first training sessions, right? So I think he's trying to protect himself. I think he's trying to protect the club, protect the players, and say, I don't really think about if we're in a relegation fight. I'm thinking about what we need to do and what we need to achieve day to day, every day to be better, because obviously he's not setting the goal of not being out of a relegation fight. He's not really addressing if we're in a relegation battle. So he can't necessarily say, I just want to focus on what we're doing every day so we can not end up in relegation. He's just saying, I'll just focus on what we want to do every day and not think about the relegation fight, which I don't know if that's necessarily the best approach. But again, if this is part of him trying to get his arm around the player's shoulders and just say, hey, clean slate, forget about Thomas Frank, forget about what's been said and what's been happening this season. We need to focus on now and I guess not even necessarily the future, just focus on now in today's training, right? Don't think about the North London Derby until that Sunday, and then you can think about the game. Just think about what we're doing in training. When you get home, think about what you need to do at home. When you go to bed, think about going to sleep. You know what I'm saying? But no, I think this is a part of his approach of, again, trying to keep the slate clean in the players' minds, or trying to present as if there is a clean slate with him. Don't worry about what's been going on in the past, the previous manager, the previous results, the statements from fans, the statements from the media. Just focus on me and now, and we'll get through the end of the season. Which, if that can put the blinders on, if putting those sort of blinders on for the players helps and works, then maybe it works. But I would, again, I don't really think he answered the question. If you were asking me, I would say we're in a relegation fight. But I think he's trying to play. He's trying to protect the players, trying to protect himself a little bit. Again, they're asking about the relegation, so asked about what about the 5-point gap between us and the relegation places. He says it can be 5, 10, 2, but here we need to be calm. We need to be focused on what we need to do to be calm as a team. That is the focus. That is the process. That's the path. Let's focus on this. Let's see what we can do. Now we need to see what it is they're pointing up, what is down, what is up. We doesn't bring you nothing. Okay. I don't know what that is. You need to be concentrating on you. What can you do? Me as a coach to help the players every day, day by day. This is the main goal. So again, not really answering the question, just saying I'm really focused on what we're doing right now. So not really acknowledging the relegation fight or battle, which it can be a positive, it can be a negative. It is realistically the situation we're in, but hey, if you're aware of it, and I'm sure the players are aware of it, I'm sure the players can go on Google, look up Tottenham Hotspur, or look up the Premier League table and see that we're 5 points above the relegation places. We're in 16th or 15th or whatever, right? So they see that, they know. Him coming out in the press conferences and clarifying that on what he thinks about relegation stuff may not be the best approach, or may not be good for the players to hear. And again, sort of putting on the blinders, kind of putting on those artificial blinders for the players. He's saying they need to be calm as a team and focus on the process and the path. Let's see what we can do. And as a coach, he's just trying to help them day by day. So really, again, avoiding the questions, not really answering the relegation. But yeah. Message to the fans, that is to give support. The players need this. Is an amazing game to start. I've heard a lot of good things about the fans. The love they have for the players, I'm sure they will give us support, and we show them that we care. We want to switch. We want to make the changes immediately. So saying that, fans matter in this, and that they need to be there to support the team. Last but not least, to kind of close out this topic, Igor, how confident are you that we'll be in the Premier League? And he says 100%. 100%. He says it twice, which usually means that that's a lie, or that he's not very confident. If he would have just said 100% and just would have said that would have been it. But he said 100%. 100%. Like he had to make sure for himself that he meant 100%. So that's kind of to end on the interview with Igor Tudor. I just wanted to run through that, his first press conference, or pre-match press conference with Tottenham. Very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and jump into the last topic of the night, and that is the North London Derby preview. All right, I'll just go ahead and pull it up here on SofaScore, what this preview is going to be. Now, just to preference everything, we're going to be talking about the context of the North London Derby, why it means so much. Again, as I said before in the beginning, you got Tottenham, who are 15th, 16th place team, 5 points away from relegation, has been on terrible form, hasn't won a game in five, and has had a horrible home record this season, going into last season. And let's not forget, most important thing of all, has just fired their manager and have an interim in. So you're talking about a team that is, from a lot of people's perspective, on their legs, on their knees right now. Just kind of looking for something, looking for some sort of spark, looking for something to get something to get points out of the season and to try to stay in the Premier League. On the opposite end, you have Arsenal, who have recently bottled the last couple of games. Don't know what the hell they're doing, but at the top of the league in first place, in prime position to win the Premier League, in prime position to win the Champions League, in prime position to win the Carabao and the FA Cup. They're in all four competitions. They look very strong in all four competitions. They just faltered in the Premier League a little bit, but other than that, they look strong in all three cup competitions, are still on course to achieve multiple trophies this season, and are looking to come into this North London derby after beating us in the reverse fixture at home. Was it 3-0, 4-0, right? Or no, 3-1 or 4-1, right? And we can look at the head-to-head as well once we pull up SofaScore. But they just stomped us in the reverse fixture when they were at home. Let it all work out. Junior star boy Eze getting a hat trick in that game, and all in all, Arsenal just on the complete opposite end as far as Spurs, where they are and what they're doing this season. But as we come to Sunday, it feels that both teams are in a very desperate situation. Now, Arsenal just came off of, and we will go ahead and pull up this SofaScore screen so you can just see what the boom, right? So let's zoom in a little bit. Zoom in a little bit. So as you can see from here, let's pull up Arsenal's most recent form, right? So as you can see from Arsenal's most recent games, they drew with Wolves, drew with Brentford, beat Sunderland, right? And what was the last? Well, they lost the last game, but it's not on there. But they did have a loss as well. They lost to Manchester United, but can't see that on this form. But their form hasn't been the best in the Premier League recently. They bottled the last two couple of games against probably some of the easiest teams that they have left in the season. I mean, Wolves are literally in last place. They were up 2-0 in that game already in the second half. I think they went up like 55, 56, 57 minutes. So you think realistically they only got 25, 30 minutes to close out that game. Boom, signed, sealed, delivered. Game's over. Pretty much the league would have been in their hands. They're in prime position still, but they would have been in an even better position to go ahead and lock up the league. And what do? They concede 2 goals to Wolves late on in the Brentford game, right? I'm pretty sure Brentford came back in that game as well. So you're talking about 2 games where you're conceding the lead against these smaller clubs, these smaller teams, and you're supposed to be the team that's in first place, the Giants, that's setting the standard, setting the pace for all the other teams to keep up. Well, right now, it looks like, from what we're seeing, that this team is sort of bottling it again from their recent games. So you have an Arsenal team that just recently drew from probably the 2 smallest teams in the Premier League right now. Just drew both of those games. They're coming into this game with, as you can see here on the points table, right? 5 points ahead of Manchester City, but Manchester City, as you can see under the games played, have a game in hand. So they're coming in with the Manchester City, technically, depending on how that game in hand goes, right, are only necessarily only 2 points behind Arsenal, right? So coming into this North London derby, right, on a hypothetical 2 point lead on Manchester City, you need you would like to say you get a point to make it 3 points. So that Manchester City definitely needs a win to either tie or to keep pace with you. But you would feel as an Arsenal fan with where your team is and where Tottenham is, you need to get a win. You need to win. So not only do you say the 1 point probably won't be enough because then Manchester City can still get a win and be on par with Arsenal. You need to get the win so that you can secure your place. If Manchester City does win that game in hand, that you stay on top. If Manchester City wins that game in hand at any point in time, they win a game and Arsenal drop points, they will be right there with Arsenal, if not above Arsenal. And then at that stage of the season, it's a shootout till the end of the season. Who cannot lose? So for Arsenal fans, the reason why this is so important to kind of round up this side of it is that Arsenal need to get this win so that they can secure their place above Manchester City and keep themselves comfortable, keep the pressure. Well, the pressure is going to be on, right? It's the end of the season and you're in the title race. Pressure's there. There's no point in saying that there's going to be more pressure or less pressure. The pressure is already there. And as you can see from their last two games, it's already settling in. The pressure's already settling in. So, right, you would say, actually, here, let me do this. Here we go. So you would say, right, they need this win so that you can continue being on top of Manchester City. If you get a draw out of this game, Manchester City can win their game in hand, and then they will only be one win behind Arsenal in time. And let's not forget, as we can see here, let's look at their fixtures in the Premier League, what they got left. They have us coming up. They have Chelsea next. So they have two London derbies coming up. Brighton, who's on the beach technically. Like, look at their form. They're on the beach right now. And don't get me wrong, I remember a certain Brighton team pretty much being in this similar form coming into Arsenal and getting points out of that game. So you're talking about a Brighton team that is poised to probably even do more damage to Arsenal than Wolves, right? By getting more out of that game. Then you have Everton, which Everton form is not bad, right? They have some confidence, but you don't really expect much from them. But they're going to be up for that game. All these teams are really going to be up for this game. It's Arsenal. It's the team that's at the top of the league. All these teams are going to want to take points or want to get something out of this game based off the simple fact that this is just the top team in the league, right? The second is their, our situation and what we need to do, right? But no, I mean, a lot of these teams are just like saying, hey, if we can get points off of Arsenal, mess up their go, then that's fine. We're good. We'll be good. We'll be in the clear, right? So looking at Arsenal's next 5 games with Manchester City having a game in hand. So let's just say hypothetically Manchester City wins that game in hand. And they're 2 points ahead of Manchester City. And the next 5 games, they have 2 London derbies, a Brighton team, an Everton team, and a Bournemouth team. All right. I would say you have a somewhat confident Everton team, a Brighton team that's on the beach. So I don't really think they're going to do much. but you are playing at Brighton, and you're playing a Bournemouth team who's always been tricky, but they don't have Semenyo anymore, so you don't know. And then after that 5-game stretch, you have Manchester City at Manchester City. So you're talking about if you're only 2 points ahead and you got these next 5 games, you can't drop any points in these next 5 games, because if you drop if you drop 2 points, that's gonna put Manchester City only a game behind you. You can't afford to drop any points. You really can't. You really can't, because it's at that stage. It's at that stage, and obviously Manchester City can smell blood in the water. So going to the Tottenham side of things, let's hit back on this. And we go to Tottenham, right? Tottenham in a, like I said, completely different situation. So just getting Tottenham's fixtures in the Premier League. Hold on. Are getting their results from their last 5 Premier League games. So you can see we're pretty much on the beach. We've had no form, either home or away. The last win we've had, as you can see there, was in December of 2025. So we haven't even won a game in 2026. So this Tottenham team, like I said, is on the complete opposite end of the form table as far as Tottenham, the complete opposite end as far as the points table. As you can see, I have to scroll to find Tottenham. We are in 16th place. We are oh god. Oh my goodness. We're 16th place. We are 2 points ahead of 17th place. We are 5 points away from relegation. So complete opposite ends of the spectrum. We are in an injury crisis. As we talked about before, we only have 13 players that we can field in this game. So, but yet you have a new manager that's coming in, right? A manager that's coming in. You have a manager that's has said the right things as far as putting the blinders on for this team. Don't, as much as big as this North London derby is, don't get too hyped. Don't go crazy. Don't go overboard. Let's just focus on what we need to do day to day. And when Sunday hits, right, then you can feel the electricity in the air when you wake up in the morning. But let's calm. So you have a manager that's come in that's immediately made an impact and put his grip on the back of this team's neck and said, hey, first of all, I'm a friend, right? I want us to be together as a team. We're going to suffer. We're going to have to run. We're going to have to fight. That's what you do as a team. But calm, all right? Clean slate. All right, you guys are cool with me. Let's forget whatever Thomas Frank said about this team. What you were thinking about this team, the results, what the media said, what the fans said. Let's just focus on doing what we need to do in training so that we can be competent as a team, right? So we can put together something as a team. So a manager that's immediately come in is, I think, had an impact. Maybe has not gotten his roots down into the team and has influenced this team, but has definitely provided some sort of calm to the ever-raging waters. And you have a team of players who know they need a firecracker, a spark, a boost, something to light up their fire. They need points because we are 5 points away from relegation. And you need the fan base on your side. Again, fans have gone after Frank a lot, but there are fans that were going after these players too. I'm included. I'll still go after these players. So the players want the fans to be on their side. They want the manager to be on their side. They need a game where there's some fire and there's some passion and that they can get some fight going. Right? They got their week of rest. Okay. And you see this Arsenal team that's coming in, they're nervous. They're nervous. Let's just admit it. Arsenal, they're nervous. Their fans are nervous. The players are nervous. The pressure is getting to them. They're giving up leads to teams that they should have never, ever. The game should have been over. It should have been a 5-0 victory against Wolves. You can say the same thing against Brentford. Maybe been a little bit closer, a little bit more respectable. Maybe a 3-2, 4-2, but game should have been over. Should have been in the bag, right? They can't put those teams away. And these are small teams. These are teams that are, on paper, you wouldn't say are better than Spurs. If you want to do the whole combined 11 thing for YouTube with Wolves and Brentford, you wouldn't say there's more Brentford players than Spurs players in the squad, in the starting 11. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of people would consider that Spurs are better than Brentford and Wolves still to this day. Even right now. No Brentford ahead of us in the table. I think people would still say in a head-to-head, Tottenham or Brentford. I'm still wanting to pick Tottenham. Tottenham are a big team, and they can beat Brentford. Tottenham are a big team. They can beat Wolves. Now, as me as a fan, I don't believe that as much because I've seen what this team can do. I've seen what they're capable of, especially playing against a Brentford, playing against the Wolves. And trust me, it's about that level. We're really neck and neck. Like this is like how the table has been an indictment of what our form has been so far. But you have a team that in Arsenal that has struggled against both Brentford and Wolves. So you're looking at an opportunity here. You have a big team and a rival who need points, who are desperate, that are nervous, knowing that any mistake at any point in time can lead their fan base collapsing in on themselves, collapsing in on the team, collapsing in on their manager, and collapsing in on the players. So for a Tottenham player, you're saying this an opportunity for us? Is this window that we have is going to be so unique playing against Arsenal that there is no way that you can't be motivated, or there's no way that you can't get up for this game because you know this is the rare opportunity you're going to find this Arsenal team in, where they're in first place. So you're going to get the accolades of beating a Goliath. They are the Goliaths in the Premier League, but their mentality right now is right there down at the bottom with you, David. Is right there bottom at the ground with you, David. So, David, when you're thinking and looking at this Goliath, he's a big body. He's a big dude, yes. But mentally, he's right where you are, David. He's thinking the same things as you. I'm afraid. I'm nervous. Ooh, this is going to be, I don't know. I'm kind of, they're going right down the street in London, but they're nervous. They're scared. They're afraid to. So if I'm a Tottenham fan, if I'm a Tottenham player, I understand it may not be like a Manchester City where you are the big blue sharks. You smell blood and you immediately pounce. But if you're a Tottenham player, you have any passion, any understanding about this club and what this game means, and if you're also putting it to context of what happened in the last game with your last manager and how he absolutely just gave you guys open and gave you open on public television. You want some revenge. You have some fire. You have some passion. And you're ready to go into this game and you want to get something out of it. You need something out of it. You know, they need something out of it. And they're nervous, right? We're not nervous. They're nervous. So for Tottenham, you're desperate to get something out of this game because you don't know what next situation you have. Because looking at the fixture list of what we have for Tottenham, and I'm not saying we necessarily have, you know, easier or harder games, but similar to Arsenal. You look at Arsenal, you have the North London derby, then you have Fulham and Crystal Palace. So you have pretty much three London derbies in a row. And then you got to play Liverpool away. Coming back to play Nottingham Forest at home. Nottingham Forest, a team that's right there battling with us. And then you play Sunderland. Sunderland, not an easy team to play. We got to go to Sunderland and play them. So we're in a situation where it's going to be a tough amount of games. And all these teams are licking their chops waiting to play Tottenham because they know that they could be the one that can relegate us. Similar how other teams are licking their chops playing Arsenal to ruin their title hopes. There's teams looking us to put the nail in the coffin and bury this club. So Tottenham, the players have to understand the rare situation they're in. And they have to say, listen, we need to get something from this game. Because I'm not saying Fulham is a tougher team than Arsenal. I'm not saying Crystal Palace is a tougher team than Arsenal. But if you're telling me that those teams aren't going to be up for it and aren't going to be ready to fight, then you'd be sorely mistaken. If you think Liverpool is not going to be ready to fight, you'd be very mistaken. If you think Sunderland is not going to be ready to fight, you'd be very mistaken. And you don't think these teams are going to come in with some confidence, with some swagger, with how would I say, with the outlook and the intention to put the nail in the coffin for us and put us in relegation, then listen, I think the Tottenham players know, and I think the Arsenal players know, in the context of the North London derby coming up, both teams are very desperate to get a result out of this game. And both teams are going to be very, very desperate to prove something to themselves and their fans. And I think that's what's going to make this game, I think, a powder keg, is that as much as these teams need it for their own situations, both fan bases are looking for these teams to prove something to them. And this is the match to do it. So, I mean, just kind of looking at the head-to-head, I mean, man, look, we're not in any sort of form. Looking at the points, we're not in any sort of I don't even want to just ignore that. This is what the lineups would potentially look like. So you can see Dragusin, Van de Ven, and Polina in the back line, because I don't think we have three center backs. So someone's going to have to sacrifice and be in that back line. So you can see in the midfield, Archie Gray, Gallagher, Sarr, and Spence out wide on the left. And then Simmons, Tell, and Kolomawani up top. So, yeah, little assists. It's we're in a strange time, and I'm not sure if it's gonna say who they have. Oh, okay, they do. So you can see just a list of players that we have out on injury. Just how bad it is. This is how bad it is. Like, this is crazy. That's crazy. Just look at the injury list. They have what, and also, by the way, Arsenal fans and their manager has been freaking the fuck out right now. They've been saying, "Oh, we got players out. We don't know what to do. We don't know what." They have 4 players out, and Max Dowman doesn't even really play. He doesn't really play. So you really have 3 players out that they actually utilize. Look at the players that we have out. Look at this list. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. So It's gonna be definitely a dogfight, a powder keg match, if you will. It's gonna be emotions flying. It's gonna be tackles flying. I think it's gonna be a tense game. I don't think it's gonna be this wide open game. I think both teams are gonna be very apprehensive and very protective of themselves, but they're going to be pushed forward by the crowd. They're going to be yearned on by the fans. So it's really going to be about who throws the blow, and who connects first, really. Who gets that first goal will be very telling and will shape the dynamic of the game. Now, if Arsenal get that first goal, then it's really tough for Spurs fans. And you're really only digging deep to not get a win out of that point, but just try to get a goal or at least put it in a performance that impresses the fan base. But if Tottenham get that first goal, boy, oh boy. Now, I think we will sit back if we got the first goal. I don't think we would try to open up for a second goal, but Arsenal would be coming at us at full strength at that point. Would we be able to hold? And once they did come at us at full strength, could we capitalize on a counterattack and get another goal? It would really depend. Who gets the first goal will determine how this game goes. And when that goal occurs, now if this is an early goal, then you might as well prepare for a stinky game. If this is a late goal, then I would say towards the end of the game, it's going to turn into a basketball match, right? So, um, big determinants. Now, if you're a gambling man, and we'll pretty much wrap up right here. If you're a gambling man, I would say this, and I'm not sure. We'll kind of cover some things. So now, first of all, who do I think is going to win? I honestly and truly believe in the bottom of my heart we can get a draw out of this game. I think we can get a point out of this game. And I think Arsenal are nervous enough to allow us to get a point out of this game. I don't think their head is in it. I don't think they have the mentality right now. I don't think they are confident in themselves. So if there's any team that I think can come in and if we do get a draw, just what that would do to their confidence. But if there's any team that can come in and get a result after this Arsenal team, because I think out of any team Arsenal would play after this, they would bounce back immediately. I think they would beat any team right now that they face 2-0, 3-0 right now to bounce back. But they're playing Spurs in a North London derby. They're going to be too nervous. And I just think they're going to be too nervous for us to not get something out of the game, to not capitalize from it. So I honestly think we can get a draw. Now, how many goals are in the game? I would tell you, if you're a betting man, less than 3.5 goals. I would say less than 3.5 goals. You're going to be looking at a tight, contested game. Again, I think it's going to be very apprehensive, both teams. And depending on who scores a goal and when will determine, just how many goals are going to actually be in the game by the end of the end of the 90 minutes. So, but no, I would say it's a draw. Less than 3.5 goals. I'm looking at a 1-1 draw, to be quite honest. If there is 3 goals in the game, then you're looking at probably an Arsenal win, to be quite honest. I think Arsenal would beat us. I don't think we're good enough to beat Arsenal at this time. So if there is going to be some late dramatics and the game is tied at that point, it's probably going to be Arsenal sneaking a win. But I do believe in the bottom of my heart, and I've been sort of disconnected from the results and everything from this season. God damn, how can Tottenham pull me back in? If there's any belief in my heart, which I've avoided using this whole season, but in my heart, wait, hold on. In my heart right now, what I'm feeling in my heart is that we can get a draw from this game. And I honestly do believe that. So yeah, I would say under 3.5 goals, right? As far as potential goal scorers, I think you're definitely going to see who would score for Arsenal. I think you're definitely going to see an open play goal. Hold on. Who did they say is Trossard potentially going to start? Yeah. I would say this. If it's not going to be Bukayo Saka that scores, it's going to be Leandro Trossard. So I'll put money on Trossard or Saka to be anytime goal scorers. I'd say on the Tottenham side of things, I would definitely give Van de Ven a shout as far as a goal scorer. Depending on, because we've been good at set pieces, right? I think we've been pretty good at set pieces. If so, I think Van de Ven can get a goal. I can also see a Xavi Simons standing up in this game and getting a goal. I could see Paulinho getting a goal. So those would probably be some people I would throw some money on. Um, as far as the corners, Arsenal like to get corners. We rely on set pieces, so I would probably go for the over as far as the corners in this game. Um, well, actually, I'm not sure. I think Arsenal's going to be dominant on the ball. I don't think it's going to be a 50-50 as far as possession. So I think Arsenal's going to dominate on the ball. So yeah, I would actually take that over. Take the over on the corners. Yeah, man. I think this is going to be a battle. It's going to be a tentative battle. I think it's going to be emotional. I think tackles are going to be flying. I think players are going to be begging and crying for fouls. The fans are going to be into it. Damn near fans are probably going to be running on the field, screaming at some point. It's going to be an emotional game. It's going to be a charged game. And I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited as a Spurs fan to watch it. Um, and hell, I might even do a live reaction depending on what the result is. I might do a live reaction that Sunday of the game. We'll definitely be back live on Monday to talk about it. But yeah, draw. I say it's going to be a draw. Draw. Yeah. But that's it, folks. That is it for tonight. I want to thank you guys so much. You're right under an hour and a half. So sort of hit the goal. If you're watching tonight, I hope your Friday nights are ending off well. I know it's about, what time is it here? It's about 7:30 my time. So I still got a little bit left in my Friday night, but I'm going to be winding down soon, getting ready for the weekend, enjoying some rest, enjoying some sleep. So I hope you guys do the same. Before you hop off the live, feel free to do the last minute logistics, like this live stream, subscribe to the channel, follow the X, get my updates, get my post. Feel free to interact. Feel free to leave a comment on the video. Feel free to leave comments on posts on YouTube and X. Share this content with your friends and family. Let them know about Daily Spurs. Let them know about Tottenham and soccer, football, however you pronounce it, wherever you're from. Let them know about it. Let them know about this content. And feel free to get them in on this greatness. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this. We are back. So I'll be going live on Monday, like I said, maybe even Sunday, depending on what happens. But we back live on Monday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Get in on Daily Spurs. But until Monday, I will see you then. Peace.